My honest opinion about the US soccer system, this is not just about soccer, this is also about a system that is up or out, an elitist system that creates talent and has its positives and negatives. I want to talk about this, try to be as neutral as I can. This podcast is not about my personal family situation or my personal endeavors other than what's going on with the hedge fund business. The purpose of this podcast is to give people a sense of what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So talking about soccer might feel a little bit of a stretch, but it's not. I want to classify this as important because this conversation will be really relevant to anybody who wants to achieve great things in life, because sometimes you are stuck in a system where it's up or out, where you have to keep climbing, where you have to keep performing and getting better and better. For example, universities are like that, your business is like that, your hedge fund one day will be like that. You have to keep doing better and better. Simply said, any kind of performance-driven system will it will offer you crossroads where you have to go to the right direction, where you have to go where the performance is better, where the environment is better, where it's more, for lack of a better word, elitist. I think we're all exposed to these systems. Going to business school is like that. Running a hedge fund, again, I want to use soccer as an example because I am affected by it, by family situation. Again, it doesn't matter what the details are. I'm just going to keep it very general. The question is, you're at a certain age and you have basically you can either go up to a better team, to the higher league, or stay in the lower leagues, or you quit. I mean, those are the three options. You're exposed to a system and you have only one choice, which is to transact. In other words, you can either join a team that is better to your liking or not join a team that is not better to your liking. Those are the options you have. And it's relatively simple when you look at it that way. But of course, it's very difficult because it encompasses the Q word, which is quitting. And that's something that, of course, nobody wants to do. But it might be the better choice than to go with the lower leagues. And this is the big question that we have right now. This is not even on podcast. It's June 26, 2022. This is Krim Delco. It's a Sunday, no update for the year. We're down 41.2%. The market is down 16.5%. We're underperforming by 24.7%. So the situation is the following. You're playing soccer in a league, but you're not at the top of the league. You're sort of at the lower end, and you are exposed to, let's say, if you stay where you are, the future will be you're going to play basically in the minor leagues. And you want to go to the higher league. You want to go to call it the major league. And we're talking about youth soccer here, so it's not exactly major league soccer or anything like that. But it doesn't really matter. The nomenclature is such that you're playing what's called MLS Next, which is the youth league of the MLS. You are in a team that is accepted by the MLS Next, but it's not a pro team, so your path is not to pro, your path is to college. And path to college, in other words, is a second tier or second division type situation, because the teams that have path to pro, which is mainly the MLS Next youth teams of the MLS clubs, they just have a different attitude towards performance. They train more, they travel more, they play higher level. So the longer you don't join them, the less you are on the path to pro. Your chances to make the national team are lower. So it just starts accumulating. And the question now is, of course, you want to join that club if you can, but it's very difficult. And what do you do if you don't succeed? This is exactly the situation that we're in right now. We're still waiting for answers. We've been trying out quite a bit. We've been exposed. We've been training at the national team level. So we've had enough exposure. And the answers are sort of ambivalent. Some are no, some are yes, but, some are no, but. But there's no concrete contract, there's no concrete offer that we could say, okay, next year we're going to play at a higher level to our liking. So this is the sort of the backdrop. And now the question is, how do you deal with that? It's, of course, very unpleasant to be exposed to a situation where others really decide about your future. By the way, it's not just the playing, it's also going where you're going to go to school and where you're going to live, actually. So all these situations are sort of accumulating, and then it's pretty nerve-wracking. And I think it's relevant for people even outside of the athletic community, because this can happen to you while you're in university. This can happen to you while you're working for a company and you want to go to the higher level, or within the company to the higher level desk, or these things happen all the time. And of course, the purpose of this podcast, again, is to give people a sense of what it feels like to run a hedge fund, but we want to help people also think about these difficult problems. To paraphrase Ben Horowitz, the hard things about the hard things. This is one of those, the hard things about the hard things. For example, saying no to the status quo, walking away from the status quo because it's just not good enough. And not good enough is not good enough. And even if you don't have a better alternative, not good enough is not good enough. Is that maybe the right thing to do? Or should you go with not good enough and just wait and maybe adjust to the level that you're being put at? Because maybe you're not good enough for that level that you think you should be. And overall, that's, it's all going to fall into place. So those are the big questions. And the way I feel about it, it's really the hard things about the hard things. And the hard things about the hard things, even in Ben Horowitz's book, has always been about saying no to employees that don't perform, saying no to clients that don't perform, saying no to investors that don't perform. We've had that in our business actually many times at the hedge fund level, where we've had to let go of investors, which is very, very hard to do. It is the same thing. You have a status quo, you have a certain income because you have investors, but they are just not good for you in many ways. And you just let go of them, because for you to reach the level that you want to reach, for example, our goal at Orange Capital Partners has always been to generate wealth. Real wealth encompasses very high returns. And we're not in the business of accumulating commissions, for example. This was not our business. Our business was to generate wealth. So for that, we had to take certain risks that we could only do with certain investors, and we had to let go other investors. And very similarly, we are now in a situation where if we want to go pro, if we want to have the highest performance in this particular sport, call it soccer, we have to let go of the status quo, because the status quo is not serving our purpose right now. So the right solution would be to let go of the status quo. Now the question, of course, is what is the alternative? If you can't join a higher level team, that means you're quitting, or what? And that's the big question. And I think at this point, it is probably better to quit and focus on something else. This is the simple answer. There's a lot of caveats to that, but I think the right thing to do is to quit and to go somewhere else, and then maybe try again at a lower level, because obviously the higher level is not working, but try again at a lower level. That's fine, somewhere else. At least, okay, here's what I'm saying. Don't quit for good, but give up this situation. Go somewhere else and try even at the lower level. Maybe if you change the environment, if you change the competitive dynamics, the coaches, and all of these things, maybe you will get better, or you will accept the status quo a little easier. Because what happens often with us humans in general is we get really excited about a situation and we get really very focused on it, and it just becomes very narrow and the options become very limited. And then you're kind of like, if I don't make it, there's nothing else I can do. So going somewhere else, trying another environment, different people, different competitive situations might actually be the right thing. So my suggestion in our current situation is that instead of us just going with the status quo, it is either up or somewhere else. This is the conclusion. And I think it applies to, let's say you're in a company and you're not happy in a company. Don't stay, go somewhere else. But even if you don't, let's say if you can't, like you want to be a trader, let's say you want to be a prop trader and you can't get to that level, that's fine. Go somewhere else and stay, be an analyst, but at least go somewhere else. I think going somewhere else just changes the dynamics, gives you a little bit more time to readjust, excites you, and then hopefully gets you to the point where you either get better and get to the higher level, or you're more comfortable with the status quo.